How does Finny escape discipline for his skipping dinner? Mitch?
He begins to like tell a big story about like there was a western match, they watched the sunset, and then he gets into talking about jumping off the tree and then he's doing the whole.
What's curious about that answer that he gives? That is true, but Mitch, I want you to put yourself in the position of a high school student. Fancy, you are a high school student. Okay, so it shouldn't be that much of a stretch. You've just cut class, basically. A teacher has called you on it. What's the typical high school reaction to that situation? Correct, but what does Finny do? Very good. So, more art for Finny. Finny speaks the truth, and he always speaks the truth with big smile on his face. Mitch, what happens?
Well, he gets so into this discussion that Mr. Prude is all good or whatever. He kind of gives in and says, all right, fine, just like.
He lets him off, right? What's Gene's explanation for why he let him off? Somebody from this group? Sarah. Oh, he forgot what was going on. Yes, that is definitely part of it, Sarah, that Finny is so able to string somebody on tangents that pretty soon that person is off the beaten path of the conversation. That's true. There's something a little bit more substantial than that as well. Abby?
It says as Mr. Prudhomme looked at him and listened to the scatterbrained eloquence of the explanation, he could be seen rapidly losing his grip on sternness.
Right, because he has affection for Finny. But there's a specific reason why he would have affection for Finny. Emily?
He thought that it reminded him of like the peace the high school boys had.
Mr. Prudhomme is living in a time when 18-year-old boys are dying in large numbers, and not prettily. So when news and images come back from the war, you see the chewed up, broken bodies of 18-year-old young men. And Mr. Prudhomme is sitting here in front of a kid who is so vivacious and full of life, he can't bring himself to be harsh. Because in this time, when so many boys are suffering and dying, he can't really see the point of criticizing or disciplining this young man who is just so incredibly honest. This kid is radiating youth, joy, optimism, and he's underscoring it with truth. Mr. Prudhomme can't find himself in a position to criticize that. All right. How is this approach similar to how Finny approaches other moments in his life, such as interactions with other people or decisions about actions? How do you see this as a similar pattern? All right, Melissa, go ahead.
Finny always like approaches everything with like he's always so like, okay, let's do it. Like he's always go with the flow kind of person, and he's like, whenever he gets in a situation where he has to interact with like other people, he's always so like truthful that like he will never get in trouble because everyone likes him. Like he builds trust with his honesty.
Spontaneous, honest. Let's list some other characteristics that we see. Mitch.
I was just going to say, like, he uses like logic and reasoning to.
But let's be honest, his reasoning is pretty flawed at times. I mean, the whole bombing of Central Europe and then, oh, the tie ties everything together. At first you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But think about it for a while. You're going to say, that's stupid. That makes no sense. So his logic is somewhat dazzling at times, but then you scratch it a little bit and you realize that he's making it all up as he goes along. So I'm not sure how solid the logic is. Ryan, did you have something else you wanted to add? No? Anything else? Paul? Good, good. So he's spontaneous, honest. Paul, you're absolutely correct. And I want to explore that a little bit more. How is he able to make his logic seem to work? Sydney?
Well, and he just convinced him, so he's really good at like sort of losing people.
But how?
Since he's confident in his answer, then people believe him.
He believes it. If you tell a lie and you don't believe it and you're really unsure about it and that comes through, guess what? The lie falls. If you tell a lie and you believe it, or are able to express that you believe it, then guess what? It works. His faulty logic seems to work because he's so incredibly honest. He believes everything he's saying at the moment, even though on some level he knows it's untrue. You guys read 1984 last night? Or last night? Yeah, last night, just for fun, right, before you went to bed. Last year, you read 1984. Remember doublethink?
Yeah.
Believing something to be true even when you know it's false? Truth and falsehood at the same time. Finny's got a little bit of that going on. But the point is, he believes what he's saying, even though he makes it up as he goes along. That honesty wins people over. The spontaneity wins people over. And there's also one other that I'll add here. A genuine sense of friendliness. He likes his teachers, and he's honest about it. It's not a front. He honestly likes his teachers. What is the other example in chapter 2 which demonstrates these qualities? What else did Knowles write to show these qualities? Come on, it's a big one. We've already talked about it in the class today. Yeah?
Well, when he like comes out and says like, "You're my best friend," and so he's just friendly.
That is true. So the beach, you're my best friend, Jean, spontaneous, honest, and totally friendly. That's Finny. But what else? Yeah. The tie and the pink shirt. Absolutely spontaneous. He did it on a whim. He's honest about it. He believes what he's saying, and furthermore, he is genuinely friendly toward Mr. Patchwithers. He likes Mr. Patchwithers, and he likes his wife. I'm sure every other student at that T is sitting there uncomfortable in their ties and blazers thinking, okay, this is about as much fun as dental surgery. But Finny's having a blast, because Finny loves everybody. And this wins over Mr. Prudhomme, Mr. Patchwithers, everybody except whom? Jean. And I think that's a good place to leave it. We're going to pick up and finish that with question 3 tomorrow. I've decided to take the first QAR set a little bit slowly, and then we'll wrap it up tomorrow, and then you'll understand exactly what you have to write for Friday.